What up, guys? Welcome to the Dark Sector Gaming channel. My name's F-Dub. Today, we'll be taking a look at the early access game, Freeman Guerrilla Warfare by KK Game Studios. If you like top-down tactics games, perfect. If you like first-person shooters, great. The game is a combination of the two. It's currently in early access, patch 0.105. If you have played Warband in the past, it feels very similar to this style of gameplay. The only difference is that it's got kick-ass guns and not boring swords, so stick around to watch the rest of the video. Journey for world domination begins by first picking your flag insignia and the name of your faction. I picked Dark Sector just because I think it sounds cool. Currently there's only one game type and it's called Campaign Mode. You need to hold 10 towns, eliminate Panzer Battalion, Kazakh Army, and Atov Revolution forces. Once you can do that, world domination is finally complete. Each encounter starts out by letting you position each of your squad members in the green circle. The 10 guys you start out with are pretty much plebs, but they get the job done when matched with looters and groups of equal numbers. So my advice would be to stay away from bandit groups in the beginning, or any army larger than yours. When you spawn in, the first thing you will see is this green crate. It's nice to have something like this because if you're an idiot like me who forgets things every once in a while, you'll still be able to get that med pack that you forgot to grab. At the beginning of the match, click on your squads and have them follow you until you get into some action. When moving through the terrain, try to keep out of line of sight of the enemy and keep your eyes open. More often than not, your men will see the enemy before you. They're like a giant walking radar station. From here on, we'll speed up to the action. Once you come in contact with the enemy, the first thing you're going to want to do is find cover. The interesting thing about cover in this game, once you're behind something, you're almost physically impossible to be hit by bullets. In these early parts of the game, I left the squad commands unfollowed. There was no need to do any complex maneuvers at this point. Like most modern shooters, you need to adjust your gun to compensate for bullet drop. As you're running around, listen to the audio cues. There's a couple things to listen for. 1, the music dynamically changes if you're in combat or not. And 2, your soldiers will give you callouts if they're in position, or if they're in trouble, or if they're pinned down on the verge of death. Make sure to keep checking your map. If your men have seen any contacts, they will show up in red, highlighting their position. As of right now, there's 3 different ways your men can move throughout the map. The first one is to proceed with caution. This is when you want your men to move carefully and take cover whenever they can. The second command is to tell your men to charge. I mostly use this command when I know they are safe, but are slowly falling behind. The downside to this command is if they are not safe, your men are at a weakened state and can be easily killed. The last movement option would be the follow command. In the beginning of each encounter, I use this command about 80% of the time. I guess I'm just too damn lazy to do it manually. Let's go ahead and speed this up to the end. In the top left corner, you can see how many men you brought to the battle, and how many your opponents have brought. At this point, I can see that their numbers have dwindled, and we're about to win. It looks like I'm knocking on death's door. If I get hit one more time, it's gonna be all over. I decide the best way to win would be to send all my troops in and to overwhelm the enemy. At the end of each encounter, you will get an action report and then the spoils of war. Between encounters, there are several things you need to keep an eye on. 1. If anybody has died in an encounter, refill the squad. Also, at the same time, upgrade the squad to its next level if possible. The second thing is to make sure to increase your squad's morale. If the morale is low, they aren't going to be as effective in battle, and if the morale gets too low, they might retreat during a firefight and leave you by yourself. So what I'm saying, win all encounters or don't be a cheapskate. Pay your men. They deserve it. After you upgrade your men and sold all your non-necessary items, make sure to upgrade your commander. Now where to put your attributes and skills, at this point I don't really have a recommendation. I just put my attributes and skills into things that I felt that I was lacking or that I needed. As the last encounter plays through, let's have a canon conversation about this game, Freeman Guerrilla Warfare. There are pros and cons of the game, and what's really hard about kind of giving a review on an early access game is that anything could change at any time. Things could be added, gameplay could be taken away, but as the game states right now, it's fun. It's a fun game. It's just a limited fun. There's just not a lot to do. The first encounter that you saw me play plays out like the 5th encounter, or the 6th encounter, maybe even the 10th encounter. Because this game has, in a way, 2 games in itself, we kind of have to break it apart and look at each side. The first-person shooter side of the game is decent. It has typical things that a first-person shooting game should have. Should have lean. I believe most first-person shooters should have lean. You can crouch. You can go prone. The thing that I don't like about the game is when you're behind any cover, you're pretty much you are literally invincible. You can literally see every bullet that's being shot at you hit the tree in front of you. Either the tree itself or the bounding box or the hitbox of the tree is actually larger than what the tree actually is. I'm not sure if I like that because it's just too easy. You know, I should have to go side to side, dodging, moving, trying not to get hit. But the moment that you're behind the tree and you peek out, I don't think I was shot one time behind cover. The next thing to talk about would be the tactical side of the game, the tactics side of the game. Now, as you're upgrading your men, they go through different stages. I think you have to upgrade them 4 or 5 times, and then there's kind of a branching arc, because there is a max upgrade. But once you get there, you can make a sniper team, you can make an MG team, You can make a veteran elite team. These are cool and all, but I don't know if I necessarily right now see how they affect the battlefield. My sniper team was just getting outrageous amount of kills. My MG team was getting a crazy amount of kills too. But I don't know how much it changes the actual gameplay. Let's say you have guys up on a hill camped out. Would you use your sniper team to take pot shots at them from far away? I don't necessarily know the map is that large. Or let's say you needed to have a defensive stance. Did you need to deploy your machine gun team to hold the guys off? I don't think the game at this point is that complicated. It's just more health. They're better at aiming. I just feel like it's on the tactic side, it's lacking. Because a lot of the time, I just had my guys follow me through the map. Once I heard that they got an encounter, and I didn't even look half the time. I just ran through, and once I heard my men shout that there was enemy, then that's when I started moving them around. I think the tactics side of this game needs to be pushed to a much higher complexity as it is. Even at the state that it is in early access, it's good to give the devs feedback. They need to know these things. If you don't tell them that you don't think the tactics side of it is as good as it should be, then that might be as good as the game gets. People need to be hard on early access games. People need to give their feedback. Positive, things they like about it, things they don't like about it. Next, let's talk about the UI and the functionality of the UI. And this kind of goes hand in hand with kind of how the game is key binded and the options you can for key binding. It's like most typical FPS games. You can key bind pretty much anything to whatever key you want. The only problem is it would be nice that you could give your men commands by hitting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Hit 1, look over here on a hill, and say, go there. Because half the time I spend in the map clicking around. I want to do it while I'm playing. I want to do it while I'm in the action. I shouldn't have to go to my map. That's one of the things I think, maybe I didn't know how to do that. Give me feedback. Maybe I'm doing it wrong, but I couldn't find a way to bind any keys on my keyboard to make it a hotbar. I could not command my guys in the thick of the action. I think that would add a lot to the game, a ton to the game if you could do that. If I could hit F1, pull up my first squad, look to the right, see a hill, I know they're safe. Because there's a disconnect between what you see on the map and what you see around you. I couldn't necessarily look at the map and say, yeah, if I send my guys over here, that's actually a safe spot to be sending them. I could be sending them, to an area without any cover or on top of the hill. It was kind of hard to know where I was sending them. And if they could add this type of feature to the game, I think it would be great. I think it would be another thing to add to the pluses that this game has going for it. I hope you guys enjoyed my honest review of Freeman Guerrilla Warfare. Please subscribe, leave some comments down below, and if you liked the video, give those thumbs up. And if you didn't, thumbs down.